Hello and welcome to this game review. So in this one, there's a lot to discuss regarding opening principles, time usage, and generally winning positions that are won. So firstly, move 1. Already this is a mistake. In the opening we have 3 goals that we must adhere to. We must develop pieces, we must castle the king as soon as possible, and we must fight for the center. In this game, black failed to fight for the center, so a good move would be e5 to stop the opponent from playing d4, which would give white the perfect center. And now the natural development of pieces is possible. The pieces can go to the center, we can castle the king, and then eventually try to take the center ourselves with a move such as d5. But g6, this is not a good way to play chess, because we're already handicapping ourselves, which you felt by yourself. White kind of took the center, and you already do not like your position, but what else can you do? If you're going to play on 3 ranks of the position, you can't really get much better than this. Instead, of course, we should have taken the center. But okay, bishop g4. The pawn is for some reason not taking the square on d4 with the pawn, and here he is blundering pawn on e4. Also, already we are down 10 minutes. This is a 30 plus 3 game, I believe, so we do have increment, which is important as you cannot lose on time with increment. You just have to get faster at some point and you must make moves. So at this point you're down by 10 minutes, but in the 8th move you should not have spent any time at all. We should know our openings. So again, I would suggest starting to learn e4, e5, and not playing these passive and bad openings like g6, which give up the center so easily. So here bishop e2 and h6 was played, a good move, getting rid of the defender of e4 and winning the important central pawn. To d4, castles, and now black has finished development and castled, but it could have been a lot simpler. So now black has to avoid counterplay, start taking the center, and use his pawn to win the game. So b4, e5. This is a good move, finally hitting at the center. White goes knight h3, but this is a horrible move. Now the knight is sidelined and it cannot do anything, not to mention it's tactically vulnerable to forks. At this point, black is just completely winning. We take the pawn on d4. Here, if white had taken here, black has numerous ways to win, but the most instructive is knight c3, which tactically wins. Now the queen is attacked and it must move in a way that defends this knight, but we can still take the knight because if the queen recaptures, there is the fork on e2. So this is kind of an attraction tactic. So queen d3 instead, so now black is up 2 pawns, and all he has to do is not give up his pawns, finish development, get the rook to the center, and then find a way to win the game. The easiest thing to do would be to probably promote this pawn eventually. So here rook e8 is played, bishop f4, and here you mentioned that you did not know what to do here, and also you're down to 10 minutes. So time management in this game was very bad. We have to understand that. If you're down 66% of your time after 15 moves, this means you will lose on time on about move 23, which more or less is what happened. So of course, if we lose on time, then everything else does not matter. We must not lose on time. It's just simply impossible to do this. We must play a lot faster than this, and especially when the opponent is so fast. So again, the position doesn't really matter if we're going to lose on time. So instead, I would suggest not spending so much time and spend a minimum of 9 seconds per move, but don't spend 2 minutes on every move, right? We have to find some kind of balance. And here, for example, there are numerous moves. You can find free candidate moves, but you don't have to think too much about it. What is the problem? The problem is the knight is attacked. So just solve this problem, and you're doing fine. And rook e8 solves the problem, and you don't have to calculate anything, because time is for calculation. There's nothing to calculate here. So here, knight d2 f6. Again, what is the problem here? Well, the problem is actually that this pawn is attacked, so we should be solving this one. Probably c5 makes the most sense. And you mentioned that the recommended move is g5, but g5 is not the only move. So when analyzing with the engine, I would suggest turning on at least 3 different lines. so that you see whether or not you must have found a specific move or whether a few moves are good. Here, sure, g5 is good, but this is not the only move. Queen b6 is good defending and attacking. c5 is good. a5 is good attacking. A lot of moves are good. So it's not like you had to find some specific move. You just have to solve the problem at hand. And the problem is the pawn is hanged. You don't have to give it up. You must not assume that your pieces are going to get taken anyway. So okay, knight d to f6, we can take the pawn. Still, black is winning. d5 is a good move, taking the center. g5, and after f3, white is kind of counter-attacking, but this doesn't really work out because black is the first one to start capturing. And here, after g takes f, white takes back. While black is winning, but the problem is white has 3 minutes. So everything else simply does not matter, and we must forget all other chess things, because if you lose on time, you lose the game, right? So losing on time cannot be an option. We must not ever lose on time. Simply must be eliminated. And for that, we simply have to make the moves faster. Of course, it's a lot more difficult to do than it is to say it, but you must understand that this is a matter of survival at the chessboard, right? You can make the best moves you can, but if you lose on time, you lose. After all, our goal is not to lose. At this point, we can take with the pawn, which makes a bit more sense because now we have a passed pawn on the e-file, and more importantly, we have one time. And the winning time is very important. By time, I mean we're attacking this queen. White will have to move the queen here, though doesn't have time to take this pawn. And after the queen moves, we have 2 passed pawns. Well, not passed pawns, but we have 2 extra pawns. Our king is fine, and black is winning. After this, white is allowed to at least take f4. He instead goes here, but this gives up the rook. And again, at this point, we are winning. But now we must defend from the opponent's attack with 2 minutes, which is quite a difficult thing to do. So until here, it is fine. Bishop g7, queen h3, king g8, knight g7, and we are a rook ahead after all. White is attacking with 3 pieces, and we have basically 1 defender. So it is very dangerous, but still we should be able to defend. Knight h5, king f8. The opponent plays knight f6, but this gives up a knight in 1 move, which is hard to understand. And you mentioned even if you had seen queen f6, you would have lost on time. But you must understand that this is completely incorrect. You would not have lost on time, and you must not think like this, right? We must have a bit more confidence in our own play. If you think you're going to lose on time, then yeah, you will. But you must understand that we are playing with increment. And whatever increment there is, if there is a 3-second increment, this means you must play moves at least in 3 seconds or faster. Otherwise, you will lose on time. And losing on time, as mentioned, cannot be an option. This simply cannot happen in a single one of our games. And here, queen f6 is possible, but again, it seems you're only looking at 1 move with the engine. Here, knight f6 is also possible, both moves. Take the knight. This doesn't really make sense to give up the queen, but knight f6 makes sense, and white is just running out of pieces, and the king can escape. But in either case, we must make some kind of move. We simply don't have a choice. We must understand that when we're playing a game of chess, our goal ultimately is to win, or at least to draw, right? So whatever you do, you must make a move. Because if you lose on time, you lose the game, which is the same as resigning. And you wouldn't resign in this position, right? So hopefully this was useful. Sorry if this feels a bit harsh, but I think this is an important thing to understand. So good luck next time, and hopefully you're not losing on time.